Hey, welcome to the Wednesday Wake Up from the Jersey Shore. If you're not a subscriber already, please click the link below. Love to welcome you to our community and help fill you in on what's happening here at the Jersey Shore. This is Helen Ann Lloyd, and I'm Chip Watson.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, today. And a hot topic that came about over the summer. Some of you may remember public headlines of a surfer being wrestled to the ground in Belmar for not having a beach badge while he was attempting to either exit or enter the water either before or after a surfing session. And the use of our sand has been a hot topic here at the Jersey Shore, and we wanted to dive a little bit into that today and talk about it.
Yeah, just to be clear, Belmar, the municipality where this happened north of us, the municipality claims that the surfer was detained or arrested because he did not adhere to the officer's demands for his identification or something to that effect. So it wasn't technically surfing, but the gentleman was there on the beach to walk across the beach, use the ocean, enjoy it, come out, and then make his way to his car. So there's a lot of interpretation when it comes to the uses of our beaches. As you know, many of our beaches, aside from the Wildwoods, do have beach tags. So we do charge for our beaches or the enjoyment of using the beach. Now, where it comes down to public doctrine, which is state law.
Actually, it goes back to the Roman Empire. It's called the public trust doctrine. And essentially, it says that the oceans, bays, and waterways are to be property of the people and are never to be privately owned by anyone, and that we cannot restrict the people from having access to the property that is free land, shall we say. Where it gets a little bit dicey or where the law is left up for interpretation is what's the high mean water line, where's the dry sand, where's the wet sand, and the blocking of the access of the dry sand to the wet sand. That's been a little bit of a debate down in Diamond Beach in Lower Township, where we have what are some people claiming to be privately owned beaches.
They are private.
And there are some private beach clubs. However, we still cannot block the public access to the wet sand. And if that means you have to let them walk through your dry sand to get there,
Correct.
You have to allow for it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it seems to get a little bit sketchy or where the law gets a little bit clouded is when you have the enforcement of various beach tag inspectors or people who are enforcing the use of their private beach and not allowing folks onto that beach without having the proper beach tag. And for instance, our daughter was a beach tag inspector 2 summers ago at one of our local municipalities that charges a beach tag, has a beach pass requirement, and they would have to camp out at the various beach entrances and ask people to show proof of their beach tags. And then throughout the day, they would sweep the beach and ask people to show proof of their beach tags. I asked my daughter, was she ever trained? Or I said, if a surfer walks up to the beach entrance and has a surfboard and wanted to go surfing, but didn't have a beach tag, would you stop him? And she said that no, she didn't stop people, but that there were some beach tag inspectors who took their job a little more seriously. And I asked her if any of her supervisors or if any of her bosses, if you will, explained to her the law so that she would understand who is allowed to use the water and who is allowed to sit on the dry sand and the difference between the two. And she said that no one had actually ever really explained it to her. And that's where I think things can get a little bit sketchy or a little bit unclear when it comes to the person who wants to use the water and the kid, the teenager who's being hired to enforce some sort of a rule that maybe they don't necessarily understand the law.
Ironically, in 2025, we have still yet to find a very unique way to pay for the cleaning and the protection of our beach communities and our shorelines. So that's where beach tags have evolved. Now, how they get policed is really every municipality's crux to bear. How are they going to enforce that? Now, a lot of beaches in the summertime do designate certain spots for surfing or for those types of activities to take place. What this new New Jersey law encompasses is not only do they want to allow the surfing community to enjoy the break and to get into the water without a beach tag, but also the fishermen. The fishermen actually have said, we would prefer it to be allowed to be used for any recreation.
Correct. Back in 2019, the law was amended to clarify that there was to be the allowance of perpendicular access to the high mean water line. Perpendicular access essentially means you have to allow someone to walk from the street or from the beach entrance to the water. Even if they are on private sand or on your private property, you cannot prevent someone from getting to the wet sand or to the water or the high mean water line. So
to explain the high mean water line, is that's where the highest tide will come up the beach. So obviously at high tide, there's not going to be a lot of water, beach sand available, but still you have to allow someone to access the water.
So in 2019, the law was further clarified to help people understand that although the water and the wet sand belongs to the people, you still have to allow the people the access to that sand through your dry sand that might be privately owned. We are now understanding that we need further clarification of the law because it seems to be not clear that we need to allow for people to use this space for recreational purposes. The law was going to be modified to say that it was to be allowed for surfing and fishing. Folks from the fishing industry stood up and said, hey, that sounds great for us, but that doesn't really encompass everyone, and we don't want it to be limited to just simply people that are surfing and simply people who are here fishing. You have people that walk along the water line. You have people that may be hunting for gold, if you will, people looking for shells, people that might be exercising, and they really feel as though we want to allow for this to be more open to quote unquote recreational purposes.
Yeah, I think it comes with a double-edged sword because the community wants to also incentivize the beach tag checkers because there is a business component, there's a revenue component to it. So Correct. That lays there. But then you also have the power struggle. So you have those who are placed in a position of power to then interpret something that they kind of deem as to how they're going to interpret it, if you know what I'm saying. So if maybe not a very friendly, surf-friendly police officer or a lifeguard may be a little bit more, let's say, abrasive in that situation than maybe somebody that will be a little bit more tolerant.
Exactly. And I think it's important that the citizens that are using the water understand the law as it applies to them. And I really do think it's important that our local municipalities, our local police, and those beach tag inspectors also be properly informed so that they're not falsely harassing people and that we quickly have a situation that's escalating when it really doesn't need to be.
Here's the reality. Everybody wants to enjoy the beach in their own certain way. Hopefully we do it with respect to our neighbors, just like we've done videos in the past about some of the rules that you want to apply for when you are on the beach. And that's really the essence of a beach tag. The beach tag is there for when you want to make the day, enjoy the beach, camp out, bring all your stuff and sit in a chair and everything. And that's when the beach tag should be enforced and maybe within good reason. If you're against beach tags, there's a window of opportunity before and after when they're checking for the beach tags. My daughter would say, go after 3 o'clock because they stop checking after 3. So if that's something that bothers you so bad,
or come in the morning.
Walk around it. Yeah, or go in the morning.
Or come in the morning.
But we welcome you to come to the beach.
Yes, we welcome you to come to the beach. And most importantly, we're just trying to keep you folks abreast of the hot topics that are here. Not all of our beaches require beach tags, but we want to make sure that if you are on a beach that has some restrictions, that you don't get yourselves in trouble and get yourselves landed in the local slammer.
Right, staying on a beach topic, it's been raised several times, regardless of the community that you vacation, enjoy, own a home in. There's always the beach conversation as far as replenishment, erosion, sand moves. We've seen it. Nothing stays the same from year in and year out, from the breaks to the sandbars to the inlets.
There's been a hot topic here along the Wildwoods spanning from Lower Township all the way up into North Wildwood. As you all know, North Wildwood has a problem losing its sand every year. And by the grace of God, the local communities, Wildwood and Wildwood Crest, often give the sand that comes to us to them to help them replenish their beaches. There has been an ongoing conversation with the Department of Environmental Protection and the Army Corps of Engineers with regards to a large dune project that would span the entire island of the Wildwoods. This has been a conversation that's been going on for the past 10 years or so. And it seems as more recently, Don Cabrera, our Wildwood Crest mayor, has decided to bring it up for topic of conversation this upcoming Wednesday's committee meeting. Wildwood Crest's position is they feel as though they are going to opt out of this dune replenishment plan. They really feel very comfortable with the dunes that are currently in place. They feel very comfortable with the sand that we currently have and don't feel as though there should be any need to change that or to sort of mess with something that doesn't seem to be broken. comment from Mayor Troiano from the city of Wildwood. He believes he's going to allow for Wildwood Crest to take the lead on this, and Wildwood believes they are going to do the same and potentially opt out of this large dune system. It would certainly benefit North Wildwood, but Wildwood and Wildwood Crest are not really understanding that their need to participate in this should go on. The folks down in Diamond Beach, that mayor feels as though this is a good thing and that Diamond Beach should be participating. However, the caveat to that is most of the beaches in Diamond Beach are privately owned, which means it would be the individual beach owners, which are a handful of motels and or condominium associations or beach clubs that would then have to coordinate with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of Environmental Protection to allow for that work to be done. It's not to say that private coordination hasn't happened in the past. It certainly has in other beach towns, but I find it interesting that the folks at Lower Township are all about it, but that doesn't really necessarily have anything to do with them.
To kind of clarify some of my understanding is that this all came about after Sandy, when the Army Corps of Engineers wanted to really fortify some of our communities, particularly in the effort to hold back any kind of storm surge. So it's been a blanketed kind of approach up and down the coast. So this fight has not only happened in other communities are situated a lot differently than all of our islands. I can see the need in certain areas for a dune system. The Crest already has a dune system. Wildwood has such a vast beach. This would very much impede the use of a lot of their beaches that they are already utilizing for events such like the Barefoot Beach concert.
Yes.
And revenue generating situations in between. So it gets a little dicey as far as how you can't come in with, let's say, book smart scientists or folks who are looking at it from a broad perspective without speaking with the locals, how the locals understand how their beaches have moved, et cetera, and how they've used them over the years. So I think that the local input should be a little bit more of a help to the decision making as far as going forward, as opposed to getting dictated as to 100%. What they're supposed to do from like a department or an agency, like, oh, well, we're going to jam this down your throat, make this round peg fit in your square hole.
Well, so I think often we're trying to come up with these good ideas and we're still understand there's always ramifications. As you said, there's always unintended consequences to the things that we do. And when a void is created, something will naturally come and fill that hole. Whether it's something that we want to fill that hole or not, something will naturally come and take that space, if you will. It's just the laws of nature. Yes. So I think it's important that we use great caution when we're messing with Mother Nature, because we don't always know the consequences of our human actions up to the overall grand plan.
Yeah, and I mean, Helen Ann and I were discussing before even sitting down and discussing this topic about all the engineering projects that have taken place over the hundreds of years of these communities. I say hundreds. Most of our communities are a little over 100 years old. And during that time, there's been countless engineering projects, from bridge constructions to back bay inlets to inlets being closed up, like Turtle Gut, which
exactly
it used to be an inlet to the ocean.
Right.
Diamond Beach and the 5 Mile Island were not connected. They filled all that in. There's areas where we still live.
We used to live on Stanton Road, and Stanton Road, back in the day, that was called Turtle Gut Inlet. And it was truly an open inlet where the ocean fed into Sunset Lake. And that inlet, they closed it. Why?
Yeah, all of it was an effort to allow ship traffic and to be able to maintain the inlet. So in other words, they put up a rock wall in Cape May or rock jetties on either side. That probably had a lot to determine how our sand moved up and down the Wildwoods. They built the Cape May Canal so you could traverse from the ocean to the bay without going around the Cape. I mean, it's
right. So we don't know
Panama Canal.
Right.
So all these things have some sort of effect in some way, shape, or form.
And you don't know how is the effect.
Our back bays, they're becoming clogged with silt and mud and muck. But yet, if we don't do something, they were created, a lot of them man-made. We dredged over the years. There's times when that dredging has to be
right. I was saying to Chip, I said, I feel like
have to be taken care of.
Part of North Wildwood's problem, when you look at the map, you can see the coastline, and you can see that there are just constantly areas along our coastline of our entire country where ocean is just eating away at the shoreline. And you can see that right there where at the bottom of Stone Harbor where North Wildwood comes into play. And I said to Chip, I said, that sand problem that North Wildwood's having, is it really more of a problem between North Wildwood and Hereford Inlet versus a problem with North Wildwood, Wildwood, and Wildwood Crest? Now, granted, we all are along that same little strip of Atlantic coastline, and we have a ton of sand that we can be giving to them. But is it the closing of Turtle Gut that now somehow changes something that's hurting them? I said to Chip, I know that when we look at the northern end of Avalon as it goes across Townsend's Inlet into Sea Isle City, why does the northern end of Avalon have the same problems that the northern end of North Wildwood has?
They put up a larger retaining rock break that northeastern flow of the ocean.
And you also said a big part is that Townsend's Inlet is a very navigable inlet.
It is, because it's maintained and marked.
Whereas Hereford has been allowed to, whereas basically Hereford Inlet has basically been abandoned. And as you had said, getting through there now is close to impossible with almost any kind of a boat.
Well, you wouldn't take something large through there.
No, you can't.
There's no channel markers. So you're guessing at best.
And you have to wonder, does that not have something to do with North Wildwood's sand problem on their beaches?
100%, yes. And the fact that for so long, too long, in my opinion, they weren't allowed to mine the sand out of that inlet to put back onto the beach or to put onto a beach. I mean, they're putting it up north. It's flowing into that inlet. It's clogging the inlet. And they're not pulling out the sand. They got enough sand there to put in there for hundreds of years.
And there you have it.
Anyway, we're not going to solve the world's problems in this episode, but we want to make you aware of what's happening here at the Jersey Shore. So,
we love our sand. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, I love putting our toes in it and walking through it and enjoying our kids with it. We hope you do as well. And I'm sure if you're tuning into us, you have the love and the affection that we do as well for our beaches. We look forward to keeping you up to speed on what's happening here at the Jersey Shore. Again, click the link below, like and follow us. And if there's anything you want us to cover, look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.
Stay tuned and subscribe.
Peace out.